You're listening to Girls with Grafts, a burn community podcast created by Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, a leading nonprofit dedicated to supporting the burn community. In this podcast, we'll talk with burn survivors, share resources to help with supporting and improving burn recovery, and discuss how to prevent burn injuries. Here are your hosts, burn survivors and Phoenix Society's marketing team, Amber Wilcox and Rachel Kudlak.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Girls with Grafts. I am Rachel Kudlak. I'm one of the hosts of the show, and today I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Amber Wilcox.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I am so excited for today's episode. I know we probably say this on every episode, but still can't believe we're in season 7, and we still have new topics and new guests that we can come to have on the show.
Yes, always very exciting to have new guests on the show. And today's podcast is actually powered by Buses by the Beach. Buses by the Beach is a community of VW bus enthusiasts based in West Michigan. They come together to camp, host amazing events, and raise funds for the Phoenix Society. And mark your calendars for the Bus Boo 2025. Sounds super exciting. Happening October 3rd through the 5th in Door, Michigan, which we want to thank them for their continued support. That sounds like such a fun event. I'm excited for them.
Yes, no, it gets a perfect way to kind of kick off the Halloween season. And yeah, like you said, we really appreciate their longtime support of Phoenix Society. And without further ado, let's introduce today's guest. So today we are welcoming on Cathy Marie Morton. So at the age of 4 years old, she survived 3rd-degree burns on over 80% of her body, enduring 19 graft operations. After she became a survivor of domestic violence at the hands of her father for 20 years, her determination to survive and heal allowed her to recover and be led on a path to heal others. She became a Reiki Master, life force harmonizer, and emotional alchemy specialist. She merged her metaphysical knowledge and survivor stories in her book, A Healer Forged in Fire. So welcome on the show, Cathy. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, you guys. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Well, we're very excited to have you. I think as we start in the beginning of our podcast, we're always asking our guests to tell us a little bit more about surviving a burn injury and navigating in your case, the abuse that you endured. So if it's okay with you, can we start there?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, like you mentioned, Rachel, when I was 4, I was in the fire. But the fire happened on a carnival. My family is a multi-generational carnival family. And it was a propane explosion in a popcorn stand that erupted. There were lots of people that were burned, and 5 people died as a result of this fire. I was in the hospital about 9 months, and it was pretty intense of a recovery session. But first I want to get back to the carnival for a minute, because that was such a interesting and lovely place to start your life. So I went from this world of action and sound and excitement and color, lots of color, into the world of the hospital, whiteness. And and that was a big shift and lots of pain. I think I died a couple of times. My mother became my number one healing person. She sat next to my bed and prayed for me and poured her mother's loving energy into my little body. And she would watch every day my vitals go up. And then she'd go home and rest, and she'd come back and I'd be low again, and she would pray again. And so this went on and on for quite a long time until I was able to actually hold my own. And then she told me about that when I got out of the hospital. And I thought, wow, that's really great. I want to be able to do that. Because, when you're a little kid and you're 4 years old and somebody tells you something that sounds exciting and wonderful, it's like, well, why can't I? You don't have those limitations as a small child. So that seed of being a healer was planted right then. And then the other piece that was so big for me was when I would come out of surgery and I'd stabilize for a while, I would start getting letters and cards. There was an article that went worldwide. And I even got a letter from Jacqueline Kennedy, who was the first lady at the time. And because of this article, from all over the world, I started getting cards and letters. And my mother put a big map, next to my bed, and she put a star for, everywhere in the world these letters were coming from. And how just about every single one of them ended was, we will be praying for you. And so that taught me about the unlimited ability of prayer and love. And I just felt so loved from like all over the world. And I had like a bigger consciousness of how big the world was. And I believed that everybody cared about each other. That was a pretty great way to start. That was the best part of being in the hospital. That.
No, I love that map idea too. It's so fun to kind of, especially like you said, you're little, you are thinking and feeling like the whole world is coming around to support you. And I just think, it really shows how, big our community can be, especially when you're thinking about, you got a letter from the former first lady and, even just, average folks nearby who are reaching out and trying to show you their support. So,
yeah,
obviously your injury happened when you were 4. So kind of, can you tell us a little bit more about, your journey growing up and just, kind of realizing maybe that the picture that you realized when you were 4 of everyone loves each other, everyone's supporting each other, maybe that wasn't actually the case.
Yeah, that was kind of a rude awakening when that reality set in. Excuse me, I've been having a bit of a cold lately. So I get out of the hospital around Christmas time. The accident happened on August 27th. And it was pretty sweet in there in the beginning. I was recovering nicely. I started school. I started kindergarten. And then one day, my father called me over. And by the way, I want to say about my dad that when I was in the hospital, he was my hero. He was who I would lean into when the pain was so excruciating. And they told him also that I wouldn't walk, or they told my family I wouldn't walk, because I was so drawn up from all the scars. And he said, no, that's not going to happen. My kid is not going to be in a wheelchair. And he worked with he became my physical therapist, and I walked out of the hospital. So when he started sexually abusing me at 6 years old, it was a terror beyond anything I can. It threw my world into a total place of non-safety, and it stayed in that realm until I moved out of my folks' house right after I turned 17 and I graduated from high school. I did stay with the family carnival though as I was growing up, and and I worked. I had dreams, but underneath the surface, I felt so broken. I felt like I was just totally unacceptable on every level. not just having all the scars, but having those inside scars too. That's what I feel like I really have compassion for all of humanity, because yes, we can see our scars and we confront them every day, but everyone has scars and everyone has trauma. And, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that they didn't live through something horrific. I think just everybody getting through COVID was a good example of that. So I graduated from high school, but like I said, I didn't feel like really, part of me didn't feel like life was worth living. And I didn't really want to go on because I didn't have a lot of hope. But I remembered all those people and all those prayers and how hard I fought to live. And I just wanted to have a life that was good and was happy. And so I started working on that, I went to therapy. I did all kinds of things. But when I really started working on myself was when I had my children, because I wanted to have the kind of home and be the kind of parent that they could really trust and be healthy. And I knew I needed to get myself to that place. And so, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I had lots of teachers. I've had so many wonderful, wonderful experiences in healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we appreciate, you opening up and sharing all of that with us. I know you talked about, obviously, once you had your children, and then that was kind of a moment for you where you wanted to really focus on your own self-healing. But were there any other moments or, I guess turning points from growing up that, you felt like you weren't just surviving, but maybe you were thriving again?
Oh, yes. I sometimes I'm a little bit apprehensive to talk about all the amazing metaphysical things that happened to me. But my mother took me to the Philippine Islands when I was 19 years old. And I had psychic surgery and listened to a master who talked about life force energy and how to really heal the body, mind, and spirit using these teachings and techniques and prayers. And, that really gave my life a boost. I remembered back in the day that my mother was a healer. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay. So that's something that's exciting that I can lean into, and very helpful. And from that, I started really gathering my courage and my energy. And eventually I was able to speak the truth and set my family free. You see, my father, he was an alcoholic, and it was a progressive disease with him, and he became more and more violent. And it was a dangerous situation. And when he finally quit drinking, that was my chance. And I stepped up and told my mother what had been happening for so long. And it wasn't like he said. She did forgive me. She did still love me. Those were my big fears. So, yeah. Okay. What else we got, girls?
Yeah. So I want to know a little bit more about your healing and your journey today. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So what tools or practices have you found that are most effective for your healing?
Yeah. Well, like I said, telling your story is huge. That's, and that's the beginning to like opening up and being able to come home to yourself. So that was a big one. The therapy really helped a lot, and just continuing to work on myself. Also starting to realize that everything that happened was like a double-edged sword. There was positive and negative, and allowing myself, this is where the alchemy comes in, to really explore what was the benefits, because there were everything was the benefits. Even the scars have been a benefit. They're kind of a guardian at the gate, to where I make sure that before I let anybody in that close, that they see me beyond skin deep. Everybody knows about that. That's in our position. Meditation has been a huge tool for me. And I love to listen to a morning meditation every day. I have my favorites. I love Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe, and there's just the list just goes on and on.
And Cathy, sorry, just to interrupt, can you tell us a little bit more about just Reiki and alchemy, and just kind of what those are for maybe our listeners who are unfamiliar?
Yes. Well, Reiki is life force energy. And that's something that I feel our community has a lot of, because we all survived. You have to have a lot of life force energy to get through something that we have all transversed. And even the people that support us, excuse me. So they call it other things in other languages, chi, and all kinds of different, like, I'm a little bit nervous. I've been a Reiki Master for over 30 years. It's an initiation that helps to open up your chakras. And that's what I work with mostly is the chakra system. And I use color and sound now. And everything when I work with people, either in a big room or one-on-one, it's always an interactive, co-creative experience. And I make sure that people have tools that they can take with them as well, that don't cost anything. There's just so many wonderful things you can do to help build your inside world to where it feels like that is the safest, most beautiful place you can go, is into your heart. And expand that out. That's really what it's about, is just clearing and balancing and expanding your energy out and sharing. Being able to share even just a smile on a hard day or something like that can be so powerful. A kind word, I guess for me, Reiki has become like just a way to live life in a caring way, and to know that we're all connected. That's another big piece that has really helped me too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to explore a little bit more about the Reiki. Can you explain what that process is for someone who maybe have not done it before or might be interested in it?
Okay, so there's levels 1, 2, and mastery. And the level 1 Reiki has to do with teaching people and hands-on. And there's specific hand positions that activate the chakra system and is a natural flow. Level 2 has to do with distance, just like when I was talking about receiving all those letters and prayers from all over the world. Those touched me in a distant way. We can do this also, and that's the level 2. And so all these are like transmissions and learnings that I pass on. And as a receiver, what that feels like when someone is sharing their Reiki energy with you is, it feels like warmth and flow. And what the person is feeling for, or what I feel for, is, is there motion? Is it cold? Is it spiky? Is the energy spiky coming off of different places on somebody's body? We have, this is the Holy Grail. We are so lucky to have bodies. We matter because we're made of matter. But we think this is so solid, but in reality, it's not. We're mostly water and air and love. That is the highest frequency. And that's what we're really working on, is getting ourselves cleared, cleaning our house, and bringing in those higher frequencies. And when I start working with people, I get information about maybe their past, or, I'm just open. And I'm open because I've worked on myself so much that it's pretty quiet inside. So does that answer your question pretty good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And Cathy, can you talk a little bit about, you talked about how you've worked so much on yourself and learning, to be present in your mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just talk a little bit more about, how you began that process, or I guess tips for other survivors who are listening, who, are interested in, maybe it's Reiki or even just meditation, and like how to, I guess, feel and be present in your own body, especially after a burn injury?
Certainly. And that's the big thing. I think when people experience a lot of pain in the body, it's natural not to go into the pain. We go out of the body. We go up and out and get away from it as far as we can, and leave just a tiny little bit of our essence hooked in, right? So we want to bring more of that in. And in order to do that, I always like to start with the breath. The breath is, it's everything, really. And just put your feet on the floor and wiggle your toes and try to feel your consciousness utilizing your breath all the way in every place. And this takes practice. And, there's a lot of talk about quieting the mind and all that, and in meditation, and that will come. But it's just like being on a river, the thoughts come and you go, oh, that's interesting. And you let them go. And after you get used to feeling the breath inside of you, then you can put your hands on your heart. I think if we can start with the heart always, and start with a positive emotion that gets your juices flowing, some beautiful thought or memory, or maybe it's music for you, or maybe it's a walk in the woods. Whatever it is that heightens that experience of wanting to be alive is what you want to lean into. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And for a new survivor who, like I said, is interested in, like meditation or breath work, like what's a really good spot to start? Is that, reaching out and going to like a class or working with someone like you, Cathy, or kind of what would you recommend someone if they want to start, they're listening to this podcast and they want to try this out? What should they do?
Well, I would start, I think a beautiful place to start is with a morning meditation. Find something that that gets your motor running first thing in the morning. Because when you're waking up out of that state, in between the waking and the sleeping, you're really, you're open. You're open to the opportunity to like start your day in a beautiful way. So, go on YouTube and Google morning meditation. I suggest you check with Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has beautiful morning meditations, and they last about 20 minutes. If you set your clock a little bit early and you do that, that's a great way to start. And you listen, and as you're hearing it, you take it in. You try it on. You breathe, you feel it. You put your hands maybe on your belly. It really helps to learn what these energy centers are within the body and what jewels they hold in each of the places. That's going to be something that I'm going to be teaching when I come, and I'm going to bring beautiful sound bowls too, 7 of them. So everyone will have an experience of the waves hitting your particles. And I'm going to share what I've learned. I'm going to mix it up in those bowls, and I'm going to send it out with love. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and for our listeners too who don't already know, Cathy is coming to Phoenix World Burn Congress 2025. So that's happening this November. I know you just kind of talked about the sound bowls, but can you tell us a little bit more about what attendees could expect during that session, or if there's anything they should do to prepare as well?
Oh, well, I'd love to. Let's see. Well, first of all, you'll have to get up early, but I promise it'll be worth it because I'm going to get up real early. And you might want to bring a little notebook and a pen. And at the end, you might want to jot down some little notes. I'd also bring your cell phone and turn it off when you're in the room. But I'm going to have some beautiful banners that are really simple and explain the colors and what they stand for, where they are on the body, and what they activate and what they clear. See, that's it. That's what we're working to do. That's where the alchemy comes in, is when you clear these places within these centers, you get the juice. You get to sift through the ashes and get the prize of the lost energy, the lost experience, the missing information, those pieces of you that want to come home. It's beautiful to bring when you bring those extra pieces back. There's nothing greater, in my opinion, that I've gone through anyway. So, does that explain?
Yes. No. I know.
I hope you guys will come.
Well, I'll try. I think I normally wake up pretty early, so as long as I can get out of bed that morning, I'm sure I'll be there. But
Okay.
I'm excited for, it'll be a really great opportunity for folks who, I do a little meditation, but not a ton. So, this is will be new for me. And I think it's a really great way if, even if maybe it's not for you at the end of the day, but just to come try it out and, meet some other survivors too.
Well, a lot of people, sound bowls are becoming very popular. I've always worked with crystals, but crystal sound bowls have really caught on, and there's a reason. And so I'll be telling you why, and you'll be able to experience that reason. So.
Awesome. Well, I don't know, Amber, do you want to maybe kick us off with a little lightning round of our myths and truths, and then we can follow up with some other questions after that?
Sure. Yeah. So Cathy, we do a little bit of a new game here on Girls with Grafts. We do what we call a lightning round. So we're going to ask you a question, and you'll tell us if you think it's a myth or if you believe that it's to be a truth.
Okay.
And we'll just do like a fast, quick round here. So I'll start off. Tell me a little bit more about time heals all wounds. Do you believe that to be a myth or a truth? And tell us why.
Time heals all wounds is a myth, I think. I think we heal all wounds if we choose. We got to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, our next statement is, it's selfish to put your own healing first.
Ooh, boy, I love that one. That is a total myth, Once again, that's that airline, put the mask on first. When your cup is full, you have so much more to give. But if you just have a little bit of dribbling, you still have some to give.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to take care of yourself first. And I see that a lot. I see that a lot in my practice. People that want to come and they want to have Reiki, or they want to be a Reiki master, and I let them know right off the get-go that you will work on yourself twice as much as you will ever work on someone else if you're going to be a good practitioner. Because it is about making sure your cup is full in order to give the best.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a very fast answer.
How about you can find gifts and strength with trauma?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like I said, it's the double-edged sword. If you dig through the ashes, you're going to find the jewels. I promise.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about forgiveness means forgetting what happened?
Oh, well, forgiveness is, in my opinion, the onion. And you can continue to forgive. You may never forget, and that's okay. But forgiveness is really the gift for the giver, not really for the receiver. That's what I've found anyway. Because it freezes you up. Those places, those are the shadow places that you hang on to. Those non-forgiveness places.
Mm-hmm.
And giving back to others is part of the healing process.
Definitely. It's been my greatest joy. It's turned into my purpose. I have left the carnival. I left the carnival business almost 20 years ago now, to live this purpose of giving back. And it's my greatest joy.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about giving back, Cathy, because I know you, or at least I believe you did some, post-wildfire travels and support. So can you just tell us a little bit more? I think you went to Maui and maybe some other places. So can you just tell us a little bit more about, giving back and, some of the work you've done, especially, like I said, post-wildfires?
Yes. I felt led to go back to the scene of the accidents. First, I started with my own. I traveled back to the little town where the accident happened. Since I've been an adult, actually since I've moved out of Alaska. That was for me. And then when the towns next to me, one's named Talent and one's named Phoenix. It's on the same side of the freeway as Ashland, Oregon. They had a huge fire. There were only a couple of people that died, but there was a lot of damage to property. These wildfires, they're just everywhere. And it fires up for everyone. But when Hawaii happened, I spent quite a bit of time in Hawaii. That's like the natural vacation place for Alaskans. So, and Maui too, especially around Front Street. At the palace and the banyan tree. Everyone who goes to Maui, I believe, has experienced these places. Even more than 9/11, that affected me so deeply. There were hundreds of people that died. They had to choose whether they were going to burn on the land or take their chances in the ocean that was also on fire. A few did survive. I had a friend 6 months after the fire, I was able to get there. I was so deeply affected by that one. So I took a lot of crystal, and crystals transmitting. They're transmitters of light and love and healing. And so all these little crystals, I had bags of them, and I sprinkled them around the tree, the banyan tree, and I put them in the. So I had that experience there around the fire area, and I was so lucky to be able to get down there. There was no one else that was able to get down there except for the people that owned businesses and stuff like that. And my friend had lost a business and a home. But mostly I'm realizing why I went is just to be with the people, the people that survived the fire and are just chop wood, carrying water, taking care of the tourists. And I could just feel how fragile they were, how traumatized they were. And I walked around, and I don't look good in shorts, but I wore them anyway. And short sleeve shirts, and just let them feel what it's like to be around a survivor that has come out and is joyful. And so I did that in Hawaii. I spent about 10 days very close to the fire doing that. And then I went to Alameda last May, not Alameda, Altadena, excuse me. And I went to the fire station that was the most profoundly affected and was central to all the fires that happened there in that Los Angeles area. And I took the firemen, I took them some treats, and I introduced myself, and I told them that I was a member of the Phoenix Society, and I was surprised that they had never heard of the Phoenix Society. So I let them know, I let them know about the world burn, and I gave them contact information. And I don't know, maybe just compassion, thanks. I don't really know why I go, but it feels important, so I go.
Yeah, no, I love that. Just you connecting, on a personal level, even if you're not personally or directly affected, but having that, going and visiting and spreading, your love and healing. Why kind of is, not just through that work that you did, in Maui and with the wildfires, but even just your own healing practice. What does it mean, and why is it so important to you to give back to the burn survivor community?
Well, it's so important to me to give back to the world, to the burn survivor community, is because of my mother. She's gone now. I took her to the second World Burn Congress that I went to. And she was so impressed and so touched, and she wanted me to work with the community. But I couldn't at that time. I hadn't done enough of my own healing that I felt like I could hold myself authentically and see past everyone's trauma and injury and just love them and hold compassion and hear their stories. And I wasn't able to. That was about 12 years ago that I went to my last world burn. And since then, I've come into a state of self-love and forgiveness. And I feel like I've worked my traumas enough to where I can see everyone's heart now. And I just want to spend some time with this community because I know how hard it is. And I'm just so proud. I'm so proud that they were able to beat death like me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of you guys. So yeah.
So
So
I
I love
understand
that.
that you're speaking at World Burn. Tell us a little bit more about what they can expect.
Well, they can expect to get up plenty early. You can show up in your pajamas. I don't even care. And you can expect to, after the session, because this isn't just an inspirational talk, it's a transformational talk.
So are they participating or is it going to be?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be participating. You'll learn about meditation. You'll experience the sound bowls, and you'll learn about all of the different energy centers within the body, and we'll work with activating them with the sound bowls. And we will be making some tones. If you feel like it, you can participate as much or as little as you want.
Sorry, you said
about boundaries, about energetic boundaries, which are wonderful to know about. I'm sorry, what did you say, Amber?
You said making, what are you making?
Oh, you can make tones. We're going to make some sounds that match the bowls, that vibrate those energy centers all the way up in our bodies. And that's going to help you to come back into your heart space, which is, what we're really working for. Okay.
And then is it going to be like in a chair, or are you guys going to be on the ground? Like, is it a very like kind of like yoga, or is it going to be like what can they expect from the experience?
Well, you'll sit in a chair, or you'll lay on the floor, or you'll just get comfortable, make plenty of space for yourself, and maybe bring a little shawl or something so you can feel cozy. We're going to make sure that you feel safe before we do anything, because nothing really gets done unless you really feel safe. And that's something that I'm pretty good at, because I've worked hard on feeling safe myself.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you'll breathe, and you'll hear the tones, and you'll learn the information, and maybe you'll put your hands on these different centers to help you activate them. And you'll maybe make a little rumbling sound that matches the red bowl, or the orange bowl, or the yellow bowl, or the green bowl, or the blue bowl, or the iolite bowl, or the violet bowl. And they're all beautiful, and they rumble those places within, because like I said, we're not as solid as we think we are.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. We're all looking forward to learn more at Phoenix World Burn Congress. So Cathy, I do know we're coming up on our time today, and we do have 2 final questions we want to ask you. But before we ask you those, can you just tell us, can you share with our listeners how folks can stay in touch with you or get in contact with you if they want to learn more, take one of your classes, or get more involved?
Yeah, I'd love to. I have a nice website. You can go to CathyMarieMorton.com. And I got a YouTube channel. For somebody that's not very good with technology, I seem to have cobbled together quite a bit of it. I have a phone number. I'm going to be around the whole World Burn. I'm going to make myself as available as I possibly can. And just feel free to come up and talk to me. I'm going to have my book there. I'm hoping that you guys will be interested in my book. It's also going to be out on audio by then too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure we have your website, your YouTube channel, and a book link in our show notes as well for our listeners who want to get in touch with you.
Yes, and I'm very open to working with everyone and anyone, and yeah, please do reach out. So
awesome. Well, we always ask our guests 2 final questions. So I want to ask you today, what gives you hope when things might feel heavy?
What gives me hope? The world gives me hope. I I think we can find the beauty if we look.
Mm.
That too is the double-edged sword. And my purpose gives me so much hope. I just am so grateful to be in a place where I can be of service now.
I love that. I love that. Well, Cathy, it is time for our final question, which is our Phoenix Partner question, today sponsored by Buses by the Beach. So their question is, what do you hope someone listening to your story feels or learns today?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. More than anything, I want to say that healing never has to stop. It's never stopped for me. Every year I see improvement in my scars. I have more compassion. I just keep going because, what's more important? It's a limited time, and I want to make a difference. So that's what keeps me going.
I love that.
What can I ask you guys real quick? What keeps you going?
In general, or for the podcast?
Well, just answer that question that you asked me.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what keeps me going, it would be my family and my friends. I love my family and my friends so much, and my dog, who's also part of the family. I gotta make sure Remy's included in that, not just humans. But like my best friends and my husband and my dog are just like, they ground me, they keep me going, they give me hope on the bad days, and that I couldn't do without them.
Well, you're both beautiful women inside and out. I must say that. How about you, Amber? What keeps you going?
Well, I have a beautiful family myself as well. My husband and I have been together for quite some time now. And my son is about to turn 2. So he keeps me going even when I'm tired. I'll tell you that much. So even if I don't want to keep going, he's, mommy, come on. So I have no choice but to be like the Energizer Bunny all day long. So very
well. My
very,
kids are about your age by now, and I'm a grandma, so that's lovely.
So you understand.
I do understand, and I am blessed with many, many friends too, and I'm so hoping that you guys are going to be a couple of them coming up.
Yes, it'll be so good to meet you, Cathy, in just a few weeks. So just a quick another reminder to our listeners, Phoenix World Burn Congress is happening this November. If you aren't registered, you can still sign up and join us. You can join us for Cathy's session, as well as we have like over 40 sessions happening. So make sure you come and attend. But Cathy, we so appreciate you coming on the podcast today. I hope everyone's excited for your session at the conference. And we just appreciate all that you do for the community.
Well, thank you. And I sure appreciate you. This has just been a wonderful introduction to my very first podcast.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
See you at World Burn.
See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Girls with Grafts. If you are enjoying this content, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it.